Thank you for joining us again. We're talking today about 4 steps to breaking bad habits. Peter, what is a bad habit you're working on breaking right now?
So something I struggle with is trying to be productive all the time. There's a lot of things that I want and desire and want to achieve, and I can be commonly trying to do multitasking. I'm terrible. I suck at multitasking. If I try to do more than one thing at a time, I'm bad at everything. So can I just focus on one thing at a time, keep my focus on that, not let it diverge, and I can just be present and be my best self and be there. Nothing else matters but that.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What about you? What are you trying to break?
That rings very true. This is a similar weakness that we have. For me, and I'll say more specifically, I've gotten better at not texting while driving recently. Not that I was doing that all the time or for no reason at all, but it was happening more than it should, which is never. And it took a little time figuring out why am I doing this and how can I break this habit, right? So let's talk about that. We'll loop back to those as we go throughout our talk here today. Okay. So what are our objectives for today? If you just listen to our How to Build Good Habits talk, we're going to mirror that structure. Okay, we're going to review what a habit is, why we have them, and this time what makes a habit, in quotes, bad. Right? We're going to review the 4 stages of every habit, and then we're going to cover how to leverage those stages to break your bad habits. Okay? And then we'll again how to talk about how to adjust the plan if you don't nail it the first time around, which is very possible. Right? So, to review, and if you want to hear this a little bit more detail, you can listen to last month's podcast on how to build good habits. But what is a habit and why do we have them? Habits are the daily decisions we make and actions we take, many of which are subconscious. Okay? Habits allow us to automate things, saving us time and energy. And the day would be exhausting if you had to consciously think about every single thing that you did. Who you are is a reflection of the habits you have. If you have a clean sink, it's because you've gotten in the habits of always putting your dishes away as soon as you use them. If you are a really good golfer, it's probably because you've gotten in the habit of going to the driving range and working on your short game, right? Now, what makes a habit bad, though? All habits serve some purpose or you wouldn't do them. So to use the same examples that we did last time, smoking decreases stress. TV entertains you. The ice cream lights up your taste buds. Hey, so how bad can those habits be, right? Our brains evolved to prioritize short-term reward. There was a time in our evolutionary history where prioritizing short-term reward led to greater survival and reproduction to pass on that gene, right? Sugar signified nutrient-dense food, sex led to reproduction. But in our modern day environment, short-term reward is more easily accessible and is often associated with worse long-term outcomes. Think hyper-palatable processed food, Okay, that's now, my brain's still lit up the same way that piece of fruit was lit up when I was a hunter-gatherer, but now it's overload, it's sensory overload, and that has negative long-term consequences for me instead of positive, right? A bad habit refers to one that serves us poorly in the long run, okay? The key is, how do we make those habits unappealing now? Because a lot of times those habits are appealing in the short term, right? So let's review the 4 stages of every habit. There's a cue, which is information that predicts a reward. Okay? There's a craving, a desire for the feeling that reward gives. There's a response, the actual habit you perform. And there's the reward that satisfies the craving and reinforces the loop. I love tortilla chips, right? I hear a bag crinkle open. I can smell the corn tortilla chip. Hey, that's a cue that predicts, the feeling that salty snack is going to give me. There's the craving, the desire for the feeling that reward gives. I start to salivate, right? I want that salty tortilla chip. The response is eating a bunch of them, and the reward is every time I put that chip in my mouth, that salty dopamine hit, boom, okay, makes me want the next chip. Right.
There's a reason Lay's potato chips, right? What's their motto?
That you can't have just one, right? Again, credit to James Clear's Atomic Habits for this structure. Again, phenomenal book that we're basing the structure of our last 2 podcasts on goal setting, building good habits, and this podcast on. Read that book. Cannot recommend it enough. Okay. How do we use these knowledge of these 4 stages to our advantage to break habits? Okay. The cue. Make it invisible. So this is where we flip from our how to build good habits talk. We're going to do the opposite with all these things. Make that cue invisible, right? Remove cues for bad habits from your environment, right? It's much easier to not eat junk food if it isn't in the house. It takes a whole lot of willpower to not have the tortilla chips when they're all available right there in the pantry. Right? Are you scrolling on your phone before bed? Hey, maybe charge it across the room, because now I'd have to, get up and get out of bed and go over there to get my phone. It's not right there in my face. Right? Replace the happy hour hang with a sunset walk. Right? And again, if I'm trying to drink less, maybe I shouldn't go sit at a happy hour with all my friends. Hey, you want to go for a sunset walk instead? Yeah, that sounds really nice. Now it's a whole lot harder to have that second cocktail when you're not even at the bar. Right? Peter, what are you doing to make your bad habit invisible?
For me, it's that second one there with the phone. There's so many things that are day-to-day life that are housed in that tiny little tablet. If I don't see it, it's not in my pocket, it's on airplane mode, there's nothing that's coming from there, so that's, it doesn't matter, because there's no information that's going to pop up that's going to get me sidetracked. So now I can be present, I can be there, and there's a lot of things I want to do that if I want to put my best foot forward, I'm all in.
Yep. So yeah, similar thing for me with the phone. Hey, it's before the car starts, I either play the podcast, or if I'm going to do a catch-up phone call with someone, I'll call that person before the car starts, and the phone goes face down, away from me. There's no more interacting with it until I'm at my destination. The craving. Hey, make it unattractive. Make your bad habit unattractive. Okay, how do you do that? Again, many of them are pretty attractive. Okay, you can learn more about the downsides of the bad habit or the upsides of avoiding it. You can ask yourself, hey, what would be bad about changing? Why am I keeping this habit? What does this do for me? Be honest with yourself about, there is some reason you're doing this. What benefit do you get from that habit? But then can you find a different way to get that benefit that doesn't have the same negative consequences? So if you like your pre-bedtime ice cream, because that just makes you feel like nice and relaxed, the day's done, it was stressful, this is a treat to myself, I deserve this. Hey, all those things are true, right? And if you just take that ice cream away, now you're missing that reward. Can I replace that reward somehow else though? Does some fruit give me the same satisfaction of, this frozen mango, delicious. And I settle down into the night. Or is there maybe you meditate instead to get that kind of calm end of the day feeling you were seeking. Different people might be choosing their bad habits for different reasons. Hey, can I replace the benefit I'm getting with something that's better for me in the long term? Peter, how are you doing this with your habit? How are you making it unattractive?
For me, if my son or daughter say something and I'm not present, or they say something and I give them an answer that's not really appropriate or best there because I'm distracted, if I put myself in my kid's shoes, how would I feel? Or I put myself in my wife's shoes, how would I feel if they responded? Or they clearly can't maintain eye contact when they're talking. And then I ask, hey, what did I say? I do this to my son all the time. What did I say? I have no idea. Can you repeat the question? Because clearly you can tell when somebody's listening, somebody's not. They don't feel important. I want them to feel important. I want to develop these relationships now, and this is going to set for the rest of my life the foundations we put now. So short term, yes, I may not get this thing done that I really wanted to, or something that's came up. I might have a slight little fear of missing out on something, but the long-term roots that I've put into these relationships now are going to matter way more than whatever that little 2-minute thing might have been.
Yeah. For me, there's a good Peter Attia podcast on the dangers of distracted driving and how it can increase your chance of accidental death. And if you're someone who cares about your health and longevity, you should look out for accidental death too, because that's a very high cause of death. Yeah, it's that's a great point. That made this pretty unattractive. And then also, what would be bad about changing? Along the same lines as Peter. Usually my urge for productivity, my urge to get some stuff done was what led to me responding to a text to you or whatever it was. Like, hey, maybe the benefit of being productive is going to be fine if it happens in 10 minutes when I get there. Yeah. And I now also get the benefit of having some quiet time in the car as opposed to trying to stay in that hyper-productive mode all day, right? So make that habit unattractive. The response. Make it difficult. Okay, so you made it invisible, unattractive. Now make it difficult to do this habit. Increase friction between you and the habit. Right? Are you trying to work on portion control? Maybe put away your leftovers before eating, so you have to work harder to go back for seconds. They're not just sitting there on the stove still. Right? Restrict future choices to the ones that benefit you. Hey, maybe you offer to be the DD when going out for drinks, so now you don't feel the pressure from yourself or from your peers to overindulge. Hey, you've created a barrier to yourself over-consuming that night. Right? Peter, is there any way you're making it difficult for yourself to do that bad habit?
Phone, gone.
Leaving the phone away.
These things are terrible, but also amazing at the same time. So yeah, that's the simplest. That sucker's gone. That's out of sight, out of mind. Just that opportunity with these people that mean the most.
Yep. Perfect.
You?
Yeah, same thing. You know, just putting the phone face down. It's on silent. I'm not getting those cues, right? I've considered putting it even in the glove box. Right now, my speaker in my car doesn't work, so my phone is my podcast speaker. So that's currently not happening, but it could happen in the future if I'm not seeing success. Right. Lastly, the reward. Okay, make it unsatisfying. Okay. And again, a lot of these habits are inherently satisfying. So how do you make these bad habits unsatisfying immediately? Okay. Get an accountability partner. Not letting someone else down is a powerful motivator. If it's only you who knows that you're trying to do this, you slip up, who knows? Only you, right? But if you're telling multiple people, hey, I'm trying to work on this right now, and then if they see you slipping up, hey, now you let them down, that's unsatisfying to you, right? Use a habit tracker. We said this is a very powerful tool for building good habits. It's also a powerful tool here. Highlight the consecutive days you avoid your bad habit to give yourself visual evidence of the success. 'Cause sometimes the absence of a habit is a little harder to visually see, but hey, it doesn't mean you can't track it. Hey, this is X amount of days I went without doing whatever it is you're trying to avoid, right? Peter, anything you're doing to make your habit unsatisfying?
I think something that's been helpful for me, combining both this talk and the last talk, is doing some time blocking. Hey, from 5 to 5:30 before dinner, let's say this is my time to do X. And it's something I can look forward to. What do I want to do? So, and if there's a thing that needs to be done before or after, I can make a note. So again, I don't forget, so I can be more present. So that's been very helpful. And then with my kids, hey, what did you enjoy the most of our time together? And that same thing, here's what I enjoyed the most. And it's a really good feeling, a really good opportunity to do that and see where you connected and what they value.
Yep, cool. Even talking about it on this podcast to me would make it less satisfying to use my phone while I'm driving. Right? And you're all now my accountability partners.
So if you guys see Kyle when he's driving, take a picture of him. Hey, get off that thing.
There we go. Right. So what do you do if it doesn't break right away? Repeat the same steps. Okay. What was the cue that led to the craving? Make it more invisible. Because clearly, if you did the habit, there was some cue that triggered you to do it. Okay. Make that cue more invisible. What was my craving? Okay, so the cue hit and I still wanted this bad habit, make it more attractive. Again, learn more about the downsides of the habit, learn more about the upsides of avoiding it. You found a way to complete the response, make it even more difficult. Increase friction between you and the habit. Get that thing that you don't want to eat out of the house or whatever it is. Increase the distance between you and the habit. And then how can I make it less enjoyable if this happens again? Make it more unsatisfying. Again, get an accountability partner, whatever you need to do. Okay, so it's the same system. You just, if it broke down, revisit the steps and hey, where can I make this even harder to complete the next time around? Right? So in summary, all habits serve a purpose. Don't beat yourself up. You're not failing, right? Your brain is just doing what it does best of automating processes and seeking out short-term reward. We just want to make those habits that cost us in the long term undesirable in the short term too. Okay? So habits have a cue, craving, response, and reward. If you're trying to break a habit, you want to make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. And if it doesn't stick right away, find that weak link in the chain, address it, and try again. Again, there's no failure, only feedback. Your brain's just doing what it does best. Be gracious to yourself, be kind to yourself, but use this system to get what you're trying to get done.
Yeah. And last one, we talked about creating these good habits. This one, bad habits. Sometimes it's like, how, where do I start? I have no idea. For some, it will be easier to create new habits. For others, it'll be easier to get rid of some bad habits. We're going to find some resistance. Start with wherever feels easier to get the ball rolling and get some successes. And then maybe start to go after you've had a few good successes. Okay, where's something that I'm like, ooh, this is something that I really don't want in my life anymore, or I'd like to change. Don't start with the hardest thing, start with the easier thing, just like in our previous one. Is there anything that you have found that's helped you? We've got this big picture, all this stuff. Where do I start? What do I do?
I'd say they can often go hand in hand too. Of like you can use a good habit as a replacement for a bad habit. So you're almost doing two birds with one stone. Hey, I'm also eating more vegetables. As a result of that, I'm eating less junk food. But instead of thinking about eating less junk food, which can feel more restrictive, I'm thinking about the addition of something else into my life. So again, these things can work hand in hand too. But regardless, like use this system to get done whatever you want to get done. Your brain's already using this system just subconsciously. You're just trying to make it conscious so that you have more control over your actions. All right. So again, thanks again for listening to us. Reach out with any questions, and happy habit building and habit breaking.
Yeah.